The goal of any artist is to connect with their audience in a way that makes the experience an engagement rather than a seminar or an unfeeling, unrelatable story. One of the ways we do this is by giving our audiences little hidden gems, Easter eggs if you will, that allow them to feel like they're part of this story or relate to them in a way that nothing else will. But it also gives them a sense of partnership with you. It gives you essentially an instant cheerleader. So today, we're going to explore this idea with our round table. Then, C.L. Cannon will be along with indie books you might enjoy if you're a fan of The Sun and the Void by Gabriela Romero LaCruz. And finally, we have 10 hidden gems of our own in the form of questions that we'll have a little fun with our panel. So fasten your bonnets, grab your wicker baskets, and get ready to collect this knowledge and more on This Week in Indies with your host, Joe Compton. Hello, everybody. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you may be. Thank you for taking time to be with us. We really appreciate it here on this Easter Sunday. Happy Easter to those who celebrate. And we're going to start off our show today with unfortunately, some sombering news and tribute to a fallen comrade. Unfortunately, this week we lost indie author James A. Moore, who is a prolific author, RPGer. He wrote some lit RPG. He wrote some RPG games. He wrote a ton of fantasy and science fiction books, and unfortunately passed away earlier this week. I did not know James all that well. I've met him a couple times in passing. He never appeared on Go Indie Now stuff, but that doesn't mean anything that doesn't warrant not being celebrated and not being acknowledged. He was like I said, a prolific author. He has over 20 titles published, and he was an incredible gamer and blogger, and a lot of people were really saddened by this news. And as you can see in the top right hand corner, they have a t-shirt that they created based on a quote of his that he liked to say, which is "Get out of my face and finish your manuscript." And that is available in t-shirt form in the two colors you see right there. And all those proceeds, if you go and buy a shirt, which the link is in the show notes today, if you go buy a shirt, it goes directly to help with the widow with funeral costs and grieving costs and all of that. Also, of course, always buying one of his books or getting into his books also helps that as well. And so he's got a lot of great series out there, a lot of great science fiction and fantasy, like I said. And if you're an RPGer, he has some RPG stuff out there as well. So go check out James and what he does. And thank you so much, sir, for doing what you did and putting all that work out there. You'll be missed. And we say goodbye to Mr. James A. Moore, and we'll take a few seconds here for a bit of a silence moment for him, and then we'll continue with our show. All right. So today also, along with that cause, which I hope that you all watching this will go and contribute to. The t-shirts were like $20. I actually bought one. And so it's a really great cause and opportunity to help out a fallen indie and somebody who was very beloved in our community. So go and check that out. It reminds me often too that we meet so many people in this business. We casually meet people. We casually get an opportunity to speak to one another. and just it just reflects upon uh, how many people really cherished him and were affected by him, and how much he helped this community. And so just remember that the next time you meet somebody that you may just casually meet, you never know. And, it might be an opportunity to glean some knowledge off of somebody who has been doing it for a while. And James was one of those people. So he and I had a really nice conversation the one time that we actually spoke for a little bit. But yeah, it makes me sad that I never got the opportunity to talk to him more and have him here as well. But that being said, we are doing another opportunity for you as well today. Fellow indie author who has been on our show before, Beth Barney. Uh, she is an indie author who has done um, some fantasy novels, and she's now taking that opportunity to take that novel on her own and create a short film out of it, which is going to be a concept film for an opportunity to try and make it into a TV pilot and then make it into a TV series. So I'll let her tell you more about that with her Kickstarter video. She's running a Kickstarter right now. It is fully funded, but the more opportunity she has to get more funds for this adventure, the less she has to go out and get more grants and things of that nature. So if you can contribute a little bit, there's a lot of great things for a small nominal fee that you could be a part of within the Kickstarter perks. And so here's her Kickstarter, and then we'll join the panel and talk about finding Easter eggs in our writing.
Hey everyone, Beth Barani here. So excited to tell you about our fundraiser via Kickstarter for our short film, Henrietta the Dragon Slayer. Our mission is to empower women and girls to be the hero of their own lives. And I do that by having action heroes on screen, and also by working with a female and non-binary and diverse collaborators to bring this project to life. A little bit about where our funds will go. They'll go towards pre-production, including costumes, set, equipment, as well as production, and paying our actors and everyone on set when we film in July 2024. How do we plan to make that happen? We already have a crew, people with experience, people who want to gain experience, and we have a script, we have a storyboard, we have a pitch deck. We are applying for grants, and we are working with local filmmakers in the San Francisco Bay Area and beyond. And also, we're in the middle of choosing our actors. I'm Beth Barani. I am the writer, director, and producer. I also have co-producer, production manager, costume, sound, editor, fight coordinator. Really fun. This is my first film, but I have also produced lots of other things. I have over 20 books out. I've been producing a podcast for almost 2 years now. I've been self-employed for over 17 years. I have created and taught over 20 classes at conferences, online, in person. I have taught overseas at conferences and cultural organizations. So fun. I'm really excited to bring this project to the screen. Henrietta the Dragon Slayer is based on a trilogy that I wrote of the same name, and the first book won a grand prize in an award contest for independent fiction authors. Henrietta is very dear to my heart, and I'm very excited to be filming this short film, which is a short teaser that will be the opener of a TV pilot and hopefully a TV show. We are a crew of San Francisco Bay Area filmmakers, and most of us are women. We are a diverse group of gender and backgrounds, ethnicities, religion, socioeconomic status, coming together because I really believe in this project. I've been wanting to make a movie about Henrietta the Dragon Slayer for almost 17 years now, and I am so excited to bring this project out into the world. I invite you to check out our project, our rewards, share with your friends. If you are super excited, please do join in funding this project. We would love to have you. We are doing this movie because we need more women on screen and behind the screen. And we need to show women who are capable, competent warriors, heroes, and who care and who have a heart.
Yep. So the link is in the show notes if you want to contribute and get yourself some perks for the opportunity to be a part of the film, and the thanks and everything involved in that, and get a chance to see it and all that wonderful stuff. So everybody go check that out, and yeah, it's going to be a wonderful opportunity to do that. And I'm here to support independent film, but I'm especially here to support women-driven independent film that matters, with a diverse crew and a diverse cast. And I am happy to announce she just announced on her website that they did find casting for it. So she's about to announce the actors as well who are going to be involved in that. So, along with going to the Kickstarter, if you click on the link, you can go to their Instagram page, which is also listed there, and follow them as well. So, if nothing else, you can follow along and see how the journey goes. And I'm sure they'll be posting BTS, which is behind the scenes footage and stuff like that. So you can check all that out there. And hopefully, after it's all said and done, I'll sit down with Beth and we'll have a little interview and talk about the film and how it all went. All right. That being said, I have a wonderful group of again, awesome women here. I'm real excited to talk a little bit about Easter egging in our writing. So let's go down the list, down the room, and say hello. Sarah, start us off, please.
Hi, I'm Sarah Tosh. I write under the name SG Tosh, primarily urban fantasy, gothic, contemporary fiction, and paranormal humor.
Awesome. Era?
Hi, I'm Ariel Dawn. I write primarily paranormal romance, monster romance, reverse harem, basically romance in all its genres, and urban fantasy.
And Courtney.
Hey, I am Courtney, aka CL Cannon. I write fantasy and sci-fi, mostly YA fantasy and sci-fi, with a speciality in retellings of fairy tales.
Nice. And Anita's here. A.L. Mangel's here. He says he's watching from Wi-Fi British Pub. That's dedication. I love it, because I gotta imagine it's pretty loud in there right now. And he's in Orlando, not in the UK. That's fine. It's all good.
That's even better.
British pub is a British pub, no matter where you're at. So, all right. So, I actually been holding on to this topic for quite a bit, and then Easter came around on this Sunday, and I thought, well, this is perfect, right? We're gonna have this opportunity to do this. So, I'm curious to start the conversation about how much you think about it. How much is Easter egging a part of what you're doing and how you're doing it? And is it something that just happens, something you think about, something you plan? How does it come about for you in your writing process?
So I can start. So for me, current project, I don't have a plan for it, which is pretty normal. I don't have an outline. If people have seen me on this show, like I don't plan anything hardly. So that's not that surprising. For my previous series, Dead Mall, because it was fan fiction, that one had a little bit more intentionality about it. I would love to say that I plan Easter eggs, but they mostly, when they come up, they just come up out of because it makes sense, or because I just think, oh, that'd be cool to put in here.
I think I kind of fall in the middle, because when I started writing, I was more of a pantser, and now I'm kind of like in the middle where I'm like a plotster. So sometimes when I am making up my general concept outlines, like it will come up and I'll be like, oh, this would be a great spot, if I wanted to, to mention something here. So sometimes I'll make a little note, but for the most part, like when I was writing my Ava Crowley Vampire Slayer series, since that series itself pulls so much inspiration from like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Supernatural, stuff like that, it was more or less written as an homage to that, because those are like my favorite media. So there's lots of Easter eggs in that, and they just kind of like came together as I was writing it. It wasn't necessarily as planned out, but with some of the stuff that I have coming up, I definitely do note, like in my outlines now, like this would be a good spot to add this, or, you know, this would be a fun call out here. So.
Thanks.
Nothing of mine is planned. None of my plotting, nothing. So usually it is like a 3 a.m. thought while I'm trying to write something, and I'm like, oh, that reminds me of this, and I'm like, that could work. Sometimes I'll have in universe Easter eggs, like that's something like that could be an allusion to this character in this other series. But for the most part, it's just me nerding out just randomly.
Yeah, I mean, that's the fun part of it, right? But I'm curious too. So not planning it out, but once it's in there, once you've put it in there and it's done, how often are you adamant about it staying? Is that something that you work around? If it doesn't, what if it doesn't work for what you're trying to do? Have you edited out Easter eggs of your writing before?
I don't think I have.
I don't think I've ever edited any out, but I have had, like, on the off occasion, a reader here or there who will not get it. And sometimes I think it's one of those things, like, if you get it, you do, and if you don't, you can still obviously appreciate the rest of the story and the other, you know, things that you may pick up. But I do know that sometimes, I think, depending on what it is, I think in one of my books, I can't remember which one it was, I think it might have been Orion, I had a lot of references to, like, The Office. And there were some people that just were like, I have no clue who Michael Scott is, and I don't know how they don't, but but, you know, but
educate yourselves. Educate yourselves.
You know, but then I just feel like that's an added layer. Like, so I've never taken anything out. And sometimes I do have things in there. I've had my publisher say to me at some point, like, she'll bring something up. I'll be like, oh, this is a reference to that. And she'll be like, I don't know that. I'm like, well, that's really niche, so I want to keep it.
Yeah.
So I think at this point, I'm going to need a definition of what we all think Easter eggs are, because my thought is not necessarily like references. Like, I have those too.
Yeah.
But for me, Easter eggs are just like little things that are in there that if you either get it or you don't, and it doesn't really affect your understanding of the story one way or the other. I have references too, like in my head, what references are, like to in current series, like to Poe stories, to the Telltale Heart. And it's like, if you haven't read those, one, I don't know how you're reading my book, because it feels like that's basic. Like you are the kind of person that would have read that. But, you know, there are other things that like are in there that, like, it's not going to affect your understanding of the story one way or the other.
Right.
So no, I don't think I've ever actually edited anything out, but if I have, it wouldn't have affected much.
I think that all can be Easter eggs in the way you, I mean, Easter eggs are non-affected. They don't affect the plot line or storyline. They're just kind of little nods or little ideas that you know you're throwing out there, and it could be a reference. It could be a reference to work. It could be a foreshadowing or leading to, you know, what Courtney said, where she references something from another series or story or something to that effect. I think all of those work as Easter eggs for the most part.
Okay.
You know, yeah, and you know that's why I think editing them out is so interesting, because they don't really affect the story at all. So I would imagine an editor, and I've had this because this has happened to me. I referenced The Godfather in my first book, and the editor said, you should just take this out. It doesn't mean anything to the story. And I go, but it's a really cool reference. It's a really, really niche understanding of what I'm trying to say. And they go, okay. And they're like, explain it to me. And I said, well, here, I sent them the clip of the scene that I was referencing, and they go, oh, okay, now I get it. So if you get it, you get it. You're in the know.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't, I feel sorry for you. And like you said, Sarah, I think very aptly, I was just going to mention that to Ariel when she said that like some of our readers don't get some. Why are they reading your stuff if they don't get your
Right?
you know? They should know who you are.
I have very, very vast like cultural references, and just whether I want to or not, like a lot of times they come up in my books.
Yeah.
And that just speaks, I think, to just, to like my reading taste and my interests in general. Or I have ADHD. I'm all over the place.
How about for you, Courtney? Have you ever had to edit that, or has a reader kind of made you edit something differently?
No, I haven't ever edited any of my Easter eggs out because, like you said, they don't really have that much of an impact. They're just fun, so there's no need to take them out. And I haven't had anybody come at me and be like, "What's this about?" So.
Well, that triggered the chat. Everybody's commenting now. When I was a younger writer, I think I was hiding Easter eggs without even realizing I was doing it. Now that I've been developing my skills, I also intentionally place references and character cameos from my other series to connect all the books in some way. I do that too. And then Anita says, I have a couple Doctor Who references in one of my series and named a character who made a deal with the devil, Winchester, after Supernatural.
Nice.
I have several nods to Supernatural, the Eva Crowley series, including her last name. So,
yeah, I mean, it's interesting, right? Because we all have loves and likes and things like that, and we want to. I don't know about you, but I tend to think, and might be a little pretentious, but I think it makes me feel smarter to have something like that in there a little bit. I feel like, all right, I'm gonna pull the readers I want into my story with these references, right? And they're so mundane and stupid that why would I even think that, right? Because it's just a subtle nod. I never like blatantly, that's part of the Easter egg too, right? Is you're hiding it, right? You're hiding it from what you're trying to do, and if somebody gets it, that's when you feel validated. At least that's what I think. I don't know how everybody else feels about that.
I think that's true. I think it's not just fun for me to put that stuff in. Now that I know what we were talking about, I can speak a little bit better on this. So like in the beginning of my latest series, Death by Misadventure, within the first like 5 chapters, I have a couple of things that I mention, which is the song War Pigs by Black Sabbath. I mention Emily Dickinson, and I think Poe is in there too, and then the Golden Knights. So it's all over the place. But what that does is right away, for people who don't know any of those things, it's sort of like, oh, okay, well, that's something that's just a thing that doesn't matter. But for people who do know it, they're like, oh, I'm in the right place. And I think you can tell the difference which readers get that and which ones don't, because I think those are the ones that are like, you get the reviews of like, I was pulled in from the beginning.
Yeah.
That can be good storytelling, or it can be them picking up on that stuff and being like, this is for me.
That's an excellent point. That's you connecting with the reader, and they'll remember you more. They'll probably review you positively. It's a really good point.
I think too, at least for me, like before I even started writing, I've always been like a fangirl. Like, so I can't, that's like a part of me I just can't erase, whether I want to or not. It's going to end up there. And so it's like you said, it's a way to connect obviously to your other readers, but for me, it's fangirling and connecting with other fangirls.
Yeah.
I mean, can you really erase it ever though? You can't. You couldn't erase it. I mean, yeah. Certain aspects of Buffy, and certain, because there's a certain somebody who's done some certain bad things that is involved in that series, and so it kind of sours you a little bit, but it doesn't take away from what that particular series and what it did for you and what it means to you, right? So I mean, yeah, it does kind of sucks if you reference that, and I'm just gonna say it. It sucks if you reference it and Joss Whedon happens to benefit from it, right? But it's just the way it is, because you loved it. Buffy was something special to a lot of people. So You know?
And I think too, as a reader, and I tend to do this sometimes, I will put little Easter eggs in not just of like media, but of like the books that I've read too. And sometimes I'll reach out to other indies and just be
Nice.
like, hey, can I feature your book here? Because I loved your book and I think my character loves your book too. So I've done that as well. And I think that's another one of those like really fun ones that if you're really in the know with those types of, you know, books or certain genres, like you're going to pick up on that. If, you know, you're a person who loves, you know, Jim Butcher and somebody's reading Jim Butcher, you're like, oh my God. So I think those are fun too.
Yeah, I know the Sandman gets referenced a lot, you know, from Brandon Sanderson in a lot of indie books. I have to say, if I may get on my soapbox for just a second, I was part of a writing group that we did an anthology together, and I thought I was being so clever because there was a certain criteria about it, and I wrote a story that referenced every single book by every single author in that anthology. I literally was able to put it into a story where every book that you know, at least just one book of each person. If they've written multiple books, I didn't do that, but just one book from each person that was in the anthology, I was able to, and it wasn't just like, you know, I was labeling their book. I was literally putting it into the storyline, and nobody got it, and I was so disappointed by that. In fact, I got panned for pandering to the group. So I was like,
think that takes some talent to be able to finagle everybody's like stuff in there.
I'm not looking for praise, right? I just was really disappointed by the idea that I wrote a book that was actually an entire Easter egg and nobody liked it.
I mean, really cool.
It probably has to do with the fact that I'm not as great a writer, but you know, that you know, as a lot of the people that were in that group, but there was some stellar writing in that group. So, but you know, and maybe a better writer would have had a better time with it, but I don't know. I just felt like I was really disappointed by that, to be honest with you. Anyway, I'll get off my soapbox. Sorry. Anita says, I also have an anagram of Serenity from Firefly in one of my Flash fictions. And then Cherry says that I have a Firefly references in Ava Crowley books too. And then A.L. Mango said I had a character that listened to Schubert, and as well as referring to actual places, locales, Mona Lisa becoming a ghost. I mapped out a sequence in Florence where readers can take the same walk as the characters did in the story. That's kind of cool.
That's cool. That's really cool.
And then also at Pierre Lachaise in France for the Ballet of the Crypt Keeper. That's awesome. I like that. I like Andy does these videos. A.L. Mango does these videos where he walks a lot and talks, and it's really cool. So that's kind of cool that like I can visualize how he writes it, because I really dig his videos when he does those. So that's kind of cool. I'm curious too. So you kind of referenced it already, Ariel. You know, mentioning other people that you know in Easter eggs. Have you catered to a specific person before in your writing? Somebody that you know that would get it, and you want somebody to get it. Have you done that purposely before, or maybe not? Even maybe subconsciously you included them. Because I referenced something local, like, okay, not even a person, but a local something, right? Something local. I know Sarah is going to be all over this. Las Vegas is where she lives, and she references. So yeah, but yeah, I like certain things, and I think we even had this conversation too, Sarah, and 21 Grams about.
I think so.
About specific places that only people who are from there would get. Have you guys done that before?
I haven't, because I don't really like where I live. I'm in the South, and I feel like I should have been born like in the UK. So I'm not really, I don't know. There's nothing here that I want to immortalize. I've done lots of stuff from other locations that I've Google Earth before, but nothing from here.
I have written an entire book around my hometown with references to my hometown. That book was called The Marriage Pact. I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So I have like a ton of just local, like to me stuff in there, like the bakery they go to for their wedding cake or the venue. Like I just put like everything was very the slang that we have that's Pittsburghese. I mean, that book is a love letter to Pittsburgh. So yeah, I've definitely done that.
Yeah. And for me, I mean, like that's just everywhere in current series and to some degree in Dead Mall as well. Current series, I kind of did a little bit weird opposite thing where, because everybody, I think there's some statistic where everybody comes to Vegas at least once in their life. So like everybody knows, you know, a lot of the casinos. What I did in Death by Misadventure is I don't use any of the real casinos. I just use, like, I name them something different, but their locations and some of the descriptions are the same. So it's kind of like you have to know those places a little bit better in order to understand which one I'm really talking about. But yeah,
stay away from the trademarks.
that too. I mean, I don't know how much I would really get in trouble, but yeah, you do. I try to be careful about that as well.
Anita says she made a joke in an upcoming book that Canadians will get. That's awesome.
Oh yeah, that's something else I do is hockey and traffic in Vegas. That's big conversation and heartache a lot of the time.
That brings up a good point too. The next thing I wanted to actually ask about was how much are Easter eggs personal to you? Do you find them very personal? Do you reference personal aspects in Easter eggs, like something that, like an insider conversation that you might have had that only you and your best friend would know what you're really talking about, but it's kind of neat to have in your story kind of idea? Have you utilized personal aspects to create Easter eggs before?
I'm thinking about doing it now.
I was gonna say, I think I've definitely had conversations with like people and definitely put them in books. So, or just, you know, because at least with the people in my life, I know a lot of very humorous people. So there will be times that I will be having discussions, especially like with my best friends, and I'll be like, "Don't be surprised if that winds up in a book." That was fun.
So you disclaimer it. Good for you.
I do. I'm like, just so you know.
Yeah, I'm very
sure. All being recorded, everybody.
Constantly. Yeah, I can't recall anything specific, but I'm very sure that I've done the same thing. I know for a fact that in book 5 of the Dead Mall series, I do take just, you know, a couple of sentences to air out some of my confusion about why everybody likes A Midsummer Night's Dream so much through one of the characters, but very, very briefly. I don't go on like a whole research paper about it, but it's a couple of lines.
What's your issue with Midsummer Night's Dream? Are we going to get into that? Or?
Okay, all right. So
just like
so here it is. I don't really have like an issue with it. I like it just fine. But for a while in my life, at least, it seemed like a lot of people were super, super into it. And I didn't totally get the like what the big deal was about it, like why it was so big, especially given like some of the, you know, kind of problematic aspects of it when you think about it with, you know, drugging people and things. So it was a little bit weird where it was like there was, you know, the Me Too movement was rising and like consent was becoming a big issue. And at the same time, I had this faction of people in my life who were just loving that. And I was like, I don't get how this works together. So that
makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So in short, I don't have a problem with it. I just found that extremely confusing.
No, that's a good point. I didn't ever think about that either. So
yeah, that whole book is based on a kind of a riff on Midsummer.
Yeah, it's certainly not one of my favorites, but it's in the middle of the pack. I wouldn't say it's terrible though.
No, it's not terrible. I mean, there's a lot worse, but it's not my favorite either.
Anybody else want to riff on Midnight Summer Stream? All right.
No, that makes me think of Pride and Prejudice, because I was in the same way with Pride and Prejudice. Everybody loves Pride and Prejudice, but I'm like, what about Sense and Sensibility or Northanger Abbey?
I have some Jane Austen Easter eggs in a couple of my books. I do have, I think in Hades, they reference Pride and Prejudice, and there's like a whole thing with that.
Yeah, I make a Mr. Darcy reference in the latest Misadventure book. that isn't out yet, but you'll see it.
The female lead character, her name is Darcy. So there is definitely some references and Easter eggs in there with that. Yeah.
All right. A Omega said I did a lot of homework as well. I had scenes from The Mortician that took place around where I grew up, and the inspiration for the opening scene when the little boy touches his grandmother in her casket at her funeral was something I actually did when I was a little boy. Touches her cheek. And then there you go. Persuasion is. All right. We may have to have a Jade Austen episode here someday soon. I will not host that episode, but I'm sure the ladies will engage in a nice conversation about that. I'm sure.
I'm actually working on a paranormal Jane Austen-esque type story. It's in like one of my 1,000 stories that I'm working on.
Mary Shelley. I don't. All right.
I mean, yes, absolutely.
All right, everybody. That being said, I think we'll take a little time here and produce an indie connection. How about that, Courtney? Shall we do it?
That sounds good to me.
All right, this is a great one, everybody. Really cool book cover, and enjoy this, and we'll be right back.
Hey guys, C.L. Cannon here from Fiction Atlas Press, bringing you another indie connection. Today I'd like to tell you about some indie books that you might enjoy if you're a fan of The Sun and the Void by Gabriela Romero Lacruz. The first book I have for you is called When Gods Fall by S.E. Bouvier. Two sisters, both destined for greatness. One will rise, one will fall. In the free folk camps, magic is forbidden, and the gods are dead. Alina has lived in the camps all her life, but is fascinated by the old lands and their magic. When her father is injured in a hunting accident, that same magic is his only hope of survival. Alina has no choice but to break free folk law to save him, a crime for which she is swiftly captured. Now, only her older sister, Ketel, can help her. But Ketel, a free folk huntress, discovers she has magical abilities of her own, and in the camps, being marked is a death sentence. The sisters are forced to leave their home and ventured into the war-torn old lands in search of answers. Their journey takes a dangerous turn when slavers capture them and they get separated. Alina vows to rescue her sister, but amidst awakening gods, scheming rebels, and a power-hungry emperor, the sisters' bond will be tested, and each must decide how far she is willing to go to save the other. The second book I have for you is called The Ninth Sorceress by Bonnie Wynn. A shadowed past, a vengeful goddess. What price will Gwyn pay to discover her destiny? Wrenched from her mundane life as a herbalist's apprentice, teenage orphan Gwyn learns she is hunted by an ancient goddess. For 17 years she's been protected by her guardian, hidden away like a dark secret. But suddenly she is thrust into the care of some unlikely companions, pursued by wizards, and confronted by the dangerous power she spent her life suppressing. Now Gwyn finds herself drawn into a deep and ancient tale, one of lost magic, truths long buried, and the rising of a war she never could have imagined. The third book I have for you is called Two Dark Moons by Avi Silver. Sameng Par is sick of being treated like a child. Ever since a tragic accident brought her mountain community's coming-of-age ritual to a halt, she's caused nothing but trouble in her impatience to become an adult. But when she finally has the chance to prove herself, she's thrown from her life in the mountains and into the terror of the jungle below. Cornered by a colony of reptilian predators known as the Seonai, Sameng is rescued by Hei, an eccentric exile with no shortage of secrets. As likely to bite Sameng as they are to cook her breakfast, this stranger and their family of lizards are like nothing she's ever seen before. If she wants to survive, she must find a way to adapt to the vibrant, deadly world of the rainforest and the creatures that inhabit it, including Hei themselves. But Sameng has secrets of her own, and sharing them could mean losing everything a second time. And the last book I have for you is called The Gods of Men by Barbara Kloss. Sable hated the gods. She hated what men did in their name. Magic is forbidden throughout the 5 provinces. Those born with it are hunted and killed. Sable doesn't know her music holds power over souls. Not until at age 9, she plays her flute before the desert court and accidentally stops her baby sister's heart, killing her. Horrified by what she's done and fearing for her life, she flees north, out of the provincial jurisdiction, and into the frigid land of exiles and thieves known as the Wilds. There Sable lives in hiding, burdened by guilt, and survives as a healer. But now, 15 years later, someone or something is hunting her. On the run again, Sable's best chance for survival is Joss, a lethal man from the 5 provinces, who claims to need her skills as a healer to save his dying father, and she needs a large sum of money he's offered. There's something about him Sable doesn't trust, but she doesn't have many options. A spirit of the dead is hunting her, summoned by a mysterious necromancer, and it's getting closer. Sable soon discovers she's just the start of the necromancer's plan to take over the 5 provinces, and she's the only one with the power to stop it. But harnessing her forbidden power means revealing it to the world, and the dangerous provincial, Joss, she's beginning to fall for.
Okay, that's all for me this week. I'll see you next week on the Indie Connection. Bye!
As always, another wonderful indie connection. I actually wrote down a book that I will grab a little bit later from that group and add to the ever-growing TBR list of indie connection books that I have. One of these days, I'm just going to do like an indie connection review show where I review all the books I've ever wanted to purchase from the indie connection, which will be probably a 24-hour show. But, you know,
we're at 220 episodes now, so that's a lot.
Right. We're at what, 215 right now?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So we really appreciate Courtney doing that for us. And as always, a wonderful, wonderful connection. So thank you, Courtney. So, so with Easter eggs, to kind of round out the conversation, and then before I torture you all with 10 questions, I'm curious if you have any hard rules for Easter eggs. Do you have any like technical things that you kind of make sure of? Do you try to make it obscure? Do you try to make it obvious? Is there something that you think about when you're obviously not when you're writing it, as we've discovered as discovery writers, we write it and it comes out and that's what it is. But when you're looking back on it, when you're editing it or putting it together, do you tailor it in some manner? Is there something different that you do with that than you would do with editing anything else?
Sometimes I'll do like a breadcrumb to it that leads up to it, that kind of explains it a little bit, just so somebody gets it a little bit more. Like if maybe it was too vague or something, but most of the time I just leave it.
I think it depends. Kind of like what Courtney said, sometimes I'll do that if I think I need a little bit more explanation, so it isn't just kind of abrupt and kind of has a little bit more of an explanation. But I think sometimes, especially with like songs, because a lot of times some of my Easter eggs may be like song titles or like lyrics or things like that. So obviously when working with music, there's, obviously things we have to do to make sure that everything, goes cohesively there. So I think that's the only time I really ever have to like really do a little bit more editing or more work is like if I'm putting in some type of song or some type of lyric or something like that as an Easter egg.
And I think for me, I don't typically, the only reason I would edit or remove an Easter egg is if like going back through an editing pass, I'm reading it for character voice and I realize, oh, this is actually just me talking and the character would never make this reference. Then I will take it out. Other than that, I just kind of leave them and whoever gets it. And if they don't, it shouldn't really affect their understanding of the plot one way or the other.
All right. I want an honest, true answer from you right here, right now. How often are you putting in Easter eggs for, you can go like, you can give me a ballpark, like 30, 70, 50, 50, but how often are you putting in Easter eggs so that somebody gets it? And how often are you putting in Easter eggs so that you hope nobody gets it? What is the percentage there between getting it and not getting it? Where do you fall? I'll tell you, I'm probably 40, 60. I hope somebody gets it 40 and 60. I I just hope nobody gets it, and it just made me laugh. But
I'm going to go with an 80-20 over here because I definitely want people to get it so that I can fangirl along with them. But obviously, the 20% would be just like me putting like my own personal things in there. I do have some personalized Easter eggs in a couple of my books, and I know nobody's going to like get those, and that's fine.
I think for me, it's gotta be like, 80-20, 90-10, somewhere in there.
Mm-hmm.
All of like the pop culture references and things like that, I want people to get those. The more obscure they are, the more I want them to get it. There are references I make to Army of Darkness and Deadmau5 that nobody has ever gotten, or at least I don't know about the people who have gotten them yet. Nobody's told me, so I wait and hope for that day. But there are other, I guess, what you call Easter eggs that I've pulled from my own life that I hope nobody gets. Some of them are just too embarrassing.
Mm-hmm.
I have to say the same, not like 90-10. I want them to get all of the cool like pop culture stuff. I want them to be as cultured as I am, just mostly because I have so much ADHD. I've watched everything, so there's so many different references. But there are a couple of personal things that I'd rather they not know that I actually experienced.
I think that's where I come from, is like, I want you to kind of figure out what personal aspects I've put into what I've written, right? And not so much okay, I'll say probably more 60-40 the other way, because I do have a lot of cultural references, and I think if you're putting those in there to fool people, then you're really doing yourself a disservice, because that's the reader you want. You're trying to put those references in there so that you grab that actual reader, right? That person who's going to be like, oh, I love that author because they reference Supernatural, right? Or, or on top of that, it's a great advertising thing, right? Because they go, oh, they reference, oh, you got to read this book. They reference Supernatural like 10 times. And they tell their friends who love Supernatural, hey, oh, you love Supernatural? Have you read this book by Ariel Dawn, who has like 25,000 references to Supernatural in there, right? Are you a Jane Austen fan? Well, I have 3 ladies here who've written books that have some kind of Jane Austen reference in it, right? So there you go, right? And you want that, but I do love the aspect. One of the coolest things that ever happened to me was when I put out my first book, my father-in-law read the book, and he looked at me like he was just staring at me, like after, and I know he just read, and he was like glaring at me, and he goes, I'm not sure if I ever knew you before. I don't think I know you now. And I thought that was the coolest thing ever. I was like, well, you do know me. You probably know me better than anybody else knows me. But, I want that little air of mystery, hey, I am a little dangerous, right? But I'm really not. But it's cool that people wonder that. I think that's as much part of our job as, gaining audiences. It's, this audience member is intrigued by us. We're a mystery, right? A little bit. I also think that's, it depends on what you write, right? Because if you're writing lighter fare, you probably want people more to connect with you than if you're writing darker fare, right? I mean, the people who connect to you on your darker fare, you kind of are a little afraid of, right? They're like, oh, you really related to that story? Okay, I'm gonna back away from you now. Right? I don't know. How do you all feel about that?
I think we're all very multifaceted people in general, right?
Yeah.
Like nobody is really like two-dimensional. So I feel like at least for me, like, because I write under the umbrella of romance, and I write a little bit of everything, but for the most part, like most of my books tend to kind of fall in the same area. But I do have like much darker stuff that people do connect with. And, I like to see it as, that because we're multifaceted and, we can connect with a multitude of people, because, and also we're not the same person to ourselves that we are to other people anyway. So I feel like that's kind of, that helps, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think when it comes to, because I write mostly, kind of lighter, dark stuff. It's not super dark. So I haven't met anyone worrying quite yet. Everyone who's into my stuff is, perfectly nice and mostly as normal as I am. So it doesn't seem weird to me. But I think a lot of I read reviews of darker books because I want to see why people are reading this stuff. And a lot of it seems more like, I don't know, you can't really call it escapism because that sounds weird, but it's kind of just exploring something that you're never going to do.
Safety to explore it in a way that's palatable or a way that's comfortable. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's the same reason people watch horror movies, it's the same thing. It doesn't make them scary. It just means that they have interests and are fascinated by something that maybe isn't for everybody. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of how I look at it. Now, if I did write a book about a serial killer and someone wrote to me and said this made me feel so seen, I would definitely be okay.
And you would be like, all right, I'm changing my pen name.
I did not have that happen. I wrote a book about a mass murderer, but that did not happen to me. But I was worried about that. I was a little bit worried about it because my book is a dual perspective, right? It's a duality, and my whole goal was for you to question who is the bad guy, right? And that's that was, and when people started to talk to me about the real bad guy being relatable, I was like, okay, yeah, I did what I was supposed to do. Mm-hmm. I don't necessarily want you to feel that way, but that's just how you feel. So cool. That's how it is, I think it's all subjective too, right? It's all whatever you feel, you should be validated by that feeling, right? That's your choice, not mine. And I didn't write that to make you feel that way. That's how you felt when you read it. And that's just, that's where the loss of control happened. Mm-hmm. You put this out in the world the way you want it to be put out. And then however it's perceived, you have no control over. So you just got to roll with it. Mm-hmm. Courtney, did you want to add anything?
I write mostly lighter things, so I don't really have any concerns about anybody that's read my stuff yet. So.
Fair enough. Anita says, I have 2 cartoon Easter eggs in my upcoming Norris book that are just for me. So, and that's the other thing is I can't say with certainty that I want everybody to get every reference that is personal to me, but because I am kind of internalizing those, but if somebody in my family, which has happened, somebody in my family got a reference that I made that was personal to me, got it, then I feel like I've accomplished what I was doing with that, but it didn't necessarily have to happen, right? I'm not looking for validation when I put these Easter eggs out there, right? Is that fair to say for everybody here? They're not looking for validation. They're just doing it because they love to do it.
Yeah. And hopefully because it'll make a reader smile or laugh or be like,
right.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Give a moment to nod to a reader and relate in a personal level, right? And that aspect. All right. Y'all ready to be tortured?
Yes.
Yeah.
10 questions. I'm just going to go down the line. I'm just going to start with Sarah, Ariel, Courtney, and then we'll snake back Courtney, Ariel, Sarah. So let's just get right into it. Cool. What's one holiday you think is just dumb or you don't know why we even celebrate it?
Valentine's Day. I have a whole video about it.
I don't know.
Ariel?
I don't know because I just like holidays in general and I just like to celebrate them. So I don't really have one that I don't like.
Okay. Courtney?
This is going to sound horrible, but Thanksgiving, because nobody actually, celebrates what they're thankful for. They're just out there getting ready to Black Friday shop. So I feel like it doesn't have enough meaning.
That's
or
fair.
fill their guts, right? You overeat. It gives
is true.
everybody an excuse to
Mhm.
overeat. All right, Courtney, what is the favorite holiday of your current work in progress or series main character?
Probably Halloween.
Ariel?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with Halloween too.
Yeah, that's all three.
Halloween across the board.
That's the best holiday anyways.
I mean,
Obviously.
100%.
All right, so that we can all celebrate it. Sarah, what is the date of your first ever book birthday?
My first book birthday, I believe, was January 20 something, 2019.
Nice.
But I
Everybody's
celebrate
got
it on March 16th because that's when the series was like the first three books came out. So
Fair enough. Everybody, March 16th is
March 16th.
Everybody, fair enough. The Dead Mall series celebration, March 16th. Everybody. So
Yep,
right?
just had my
That's the first
5-year
thing.
earlier this month.
Yeah, nice. Ariel?
That's a hard one. I'm gonna say I think it was March 22nd of 2020 when I wrote my first short story, which was Faded. So I'm gonna go with that.
All right. Courtney?
November 19th, I think, of 2015 was when my first short story was done.
Well, I'll round out the March and say March 10th of 2015 and 2015. No, 20. I don't remember one of those years. But March 10th was my book's birthday. So, all right. So March is a good month, everybody. We're celebrating a lot of books.
Let's do that.
All right, and November is good too. We'll say November is a really great book. All right, Courtney, one holiday anthology you'd love to write a story for that you haven't yet.
Halloween, because I haven't written one yet.
All right, Ariel.
St. Patrick's Day, because I haven't done anything like that, and I think that could be fun.
Cool. Sarah?
I'm going to go with, I mean, Halloween would be the obvious choice, but I think New Year's, I would like to write one for that.
Okay. What birthday of yours, Sarah's, did you least celebrate?
My own personal birthday?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Oh, God. I don't know. Probably like 17. I don't remember. Actually, 20. It was probably 20.
Yeah. The most, non sequitur birthday ever.
Yeah.
Ariel?
I'm going to have to say probably somewhere in my 20s, maybe like my 25th. Like,
Courtney?
I'm going to say my 23rd birthday because I was 9 months pregnant and had my son like 2 days after that. So I was not feeling the celebration at that time.
All right. Which is the one that had the biggest celebration for you, Courtney?
Oh, probably my 18th birthday, I would say. I had a bunch of friends over. We watched a bunch of movies, stayed up all night, ate pizza. It was good.
Cool.
I'm going to say my 30th. I threw a Mad Hatter very unbirthday for my 30th. So that was fun.
Very nice. Man, I can't remember any of my birthdays for some reason.
That must be, those are really good birthdays if you can't remember them.
I mean, 21 was pretty great. I'm just going to go with 21 because I remember that one, weirdly.
Well, I just I guess I'll answer the question and say that I just celebrated my 50th birthday last year, and that was a really great celebration. So
Woo.
I was really, really happy with that. And now I will not celebrate another birthday the rest of my life. I'm not a big birthday person. I've never been a big birthday person. 21 was the least birthday I celebrated because I went to Vegas actually, and didn't get carded once, which was very disappointing to me.
Oh.
I made the waitress card me like a couple times just to throw it out there that I'm 21. But
I affectionately say that my 29th birthday, I became a vampire and I am now mortal and I don't age.
Nice. Very cool. All right. Sarah, best Easter candy.
I mean, I think Reese's is just the best candy, period.
All right. So you like the peanut butter eggs or whatever they have?
I do. Yeah, that's what we have downstairs right now. That's what I'm going to go eat a bunch of when this is done.
Awesome. Ariel?
I'm going to have to go with Cadbury egg.
All right. Courtney?
I'm gonna have to go with the hollow Easter bunny. I just devoured one. It's in my trash can.
I'm so glad you all didn't say the one I was hoping nobody would say, and I hope everybody says it for the worst Easter candy. What is the worst Easter candy, Courtney?
Oh, anything with mint and chocolate. I don't like mint and chocolate together, but I think you're going to say Peeps. My sister loves those, and I don't like it.
Oh, yeah.
I do like Peeps, though. They're good. I don't know, because I'm not really much of a candy person in general, so I don't really
Or am I?
eat a lot of it, period. So I don't know.
All right. Fair enough. Sarah?
Yeah, I completely forgot about Peeps until right now, and now I can't forget them ever again because they're a nightmare. So Peeps.
Yeah, I don't like this aspect of where they've created like different ones now. When I grew up, they all just used to be yellow or pink. Now there's like birthday cake ones, and it's like, why do we have to go to that extreme? It's
I heard
sugar.
the Dr. Pepper ones are good.
It's just raw fucking sugar is all it is. Why do we have to go to the extreme?
My friend in college, she swore by, and I'm not joking, aged Peeps. She would buy them, wait a year, and then eat them. And she was like, they're the best. And I was like, why are we friends? How are we friends?
Yeah.
Right next to your aged wine, you've got your aged Peeps.
Wouldn't surprise me. She's really fun. She's a very unique person. I love her. But I couldn't support that decision.
Yeah, that's a little much. Yeah. Peeps in general are a little much, but that's really extreme. Yeah. All right, Sarah, have you ever created a fictional holiday for one of your stories? And if so, what was it called?
Oh no. I can't remember. I don't think so. I don't think I've done a fake holiday. Nope.
Ariel, have you done it?
I haven't done a fake holiday. I don't think so, no.
Courtney, have you done it?
I have not.
All these fantasy writers and none of you have created a fictional holiday?
No.
Wow.
I write in real world.
Yeah, that's true.
I have real holidays.
Urban fantasy is a little tougher, but yeah. All right. And now the ultimate question, Courtney, and I have a feeling it's just going to be across the board, and it was said earlier, but Courtney, what is your favorite holiday?
Halloween.
But I'm petitioning Halloween because I like Valentine's Day too. So
I would be on board for a Valentine's Day that is also a costumed holiday. That if we could change that could be my favorite holiday, actually, if it changed. But yeah, until that day happens, Halloween.
With black hearts and lace and mesh.
Anyway. Yeah. Official.
Fair enough. All right. Well, thank you all for participating. I hope I didn't rattle you too much. You all seem pretty intact, so we're good. We had fun with that, right? That was a good, fun time.
Yep.
All right, Courtney, tell everybody where they can find you.
You guys can find me somewhere over here. Yes, at link in bio. Or at my website, clcannon.net. I'm on like all social media except for Snapchat. I am trying to get more on TikTok. I know I say that every time, but I really am trying to just actually post on TikTok instead of just scrolling forever. That's me.
Awesome. I've just started like getting more involved in it as we, as I was joining you in that aspect of, I always say I'm going to do it, but now I've actually posted quite a few in the last like month, so I'm feeling like there's no validation for it either way, but All right, Ariel, where can everybody find you?
You can find me at ariel-dawn.com. All my social media is there. I am Wrong Turn Romance on Instagram and less_than3 on TikTok.
Have you you have a new series, right?
I have a couple series, but yeah. So my Hunter Games books, I'm working on continuing those and the Ava Crowley series, so we should be getting more of those this year.
Nice. Awesome. All right, Sarah, where can everybody find you?
They can find me on sgtosh.com. I got it. Yeah, finally, first try. That's where all of my links to my books on Amazon are. I have a blog where I do a weekly monster article every week. That's kind of fun. And all my social media, I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Started posting once a week. roughly. So that's going well. All as SG Tosh author. And I actually have my second book in the Death by Misadventure series, Death in the Desert, is out on April 9th. So very soon.
What monster has elicited the most response from your blog posts?
Well, I liked Medusa the best, but I think Satan has probably gotten the most play, because I went with a very sexy looking Satan, because I was like, oh, people like this, I guess. They like shirtless dudes with wings on Instagram. Go figure. So I think that's the one that got the most attention. Well, also that post. Okay, so I use image generation for these things because I'm not an artist. I did a lot of generations for that one, and on that post, I have a whole Satan gallery of like 12 of the ones that didn't make the cover. So I think that was pretty popular too.
You made a whole calendar.
I did, yeah.
You did.
I did. Oh my god. Probably do something with that.
Satan, very apropos for today, Easter being Easter Sunday. But yeah, everybody, thank you for joining us. This is Go Indie Now. You found us. Congratulations, and thank you for doing all the things you do to get us seen and out there, which is smash that like button, subscribe, and share with your friends and family and everybody out there. Just tell everybody, the best kept Easter egg secret, which is Go Indie Now is here every week, every Sunday at noon Eastern. And we'll have another show for you next week. We also have a brand new show called The First Time for Everything, hosted by Juliette Rose. That continues tomorrow with episode 2. And then on Friday, we also have Late Night News with myself and Vanessa Junta that we're doing on this coming Friday, April 5th. And then we'll be back for This Week in Indies. And then we have a double feature the following week where we're going to be playing Hit the Dice. And we've got a nice little game that SM Hillman's going to run on that Monday, the 8th. And, of course, before that, the 3rd episode of First Time for Everything. So that's a lot of what we're going on. We have a bunch of reviews that we'll post this week and a couple interviews as well. But that's all that we've got going on, and it's a lot. And I hope you all check it out. And remember that it's always time to go indie now. We'll see you next week. Bye, everybody.